Okay, so
All right.
first, let's talk a little bit about where we're at. So before we go into the next round and before we talk a little bit more about the standings, we are jumping into what's going to be the last round here, which is really unbelievable. We've seen a ton of decks today. So a few things that we want to go over is what I think I would like to talk about, the decks that we expected to be really dominant today, and instead, what we ended up seeing. Now, there are certainly some overlap, right? I think BizBunk is something that we expected to see a whole lot of, but there's some other stuff that, man, just seemed to come out of nowhere. Spencer, what have you seen today that kind of took you by surprise based on what you know of the meta?
What I think is really interesting to see, I mean, we knew BizBunk was going to be big this weekend, right? And one of the big questions for us was there's a couple of ones. How many people in the room were going to get the cards for BizBunk? This is not the cheapest deck to build. And also, it's not the easiest deck to play. We expected there to be a lot of BizBunk pilots who were not going to make it work, or maybe coming from other games, trying it out, and like getting kind of run over. That's not exactly what we saw this weekend. We saw a lot of pilots pick this up very confidently. I've talked to a lot of Magic players who I thought were coming in after playing it a couple of times. They've actually played many, many games. It seems like there was a lot of training groups outside of this. But really the story of this weekend for me is kind of the mix that we see at the top. A lot of Vibes native players, very strong. We see a lot of spicy and fun deck lists kind of happening there, as well as looking at a lot of players coming in from other games. So the other deck that we see a lot of is this various green decks, green aggro, green mega caffeine. I think we expected to probably see more caffeine than we did this weekend. I expected to see a lot more blue than we ended up seeing.
I certainly did as well.
A lot of people playing that one of Bunkus, really strong against the blue deck as it currently sits. So probably not as much blue as we may have expected.
Although, there was, so this was not on camera, but wandering around the floor, Spencer and I got to see some wonderful decks that were played by plenty of other players in the community. There was somebody piloting the blue intro deck who won multiple games with people who had one-off Funkuses in the deck that just weren't fast enough. Remember, if you can hit that clip of how many cards can I ice in a turn and get that, the Bunkus is in that bottom X number of cards, and you manage to get them out before your opponent gets a chance to play the Bunkus, you win the game. And that was a surprise winner, I think, this weekend, which is really, really cool. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see them on stream, but there's some pretty interesting brews out there that are doing things even despite that tech card.
So we knew about Bunkus. We've talked about green actually having quite the weekend. Green Mega Penguin, green Caffeine decks, green Aggro, which is a deck that came out of nowhere 3 weeks ago on the ladder. Lofi posted a deck list, popularized this deck. We speak a lot about how do people get into Vibes. A lot of people get into Vibes reading Lofi's articles and watching Lofi's videos. And so I think it's no coincidence that this green Aggro deck is in force here because it's the most recent Lofi video. In addition to that, it is a very easy deck to get to from the green starter deck. And so we saw a lot of people pick up the green and yellow starter decks, modify them both. That being said, yellow, what was once 60 to 80% of the meta, played a lot this weekend. Not a lot of yellow decks in the top. Very interesting.
Totally, which is super interesting.
It looks like at least one that is in strong contention. I don't know if we can cut to standings now. It sounds like we can. We'll take a look at the decks available. So in first place, we're seeing a lot of BizBunk, but Guy in second place, yellow. The sole non-yellow, we have two decks dominating the top 16. It's going to be various green from green-controlled green aggro, which are very different decks, by the way. A lot of BizBunk, and our solo champion over here, Guy, with yellow Yum Yum in second place going into the last round at 7-1. But absolutely love to see. Guy is also a Magic player, but I would count him as a Vibes native player. He's played a lot of Vibes recently.
On a bigger picture, we're seeing 5 out of the top 8 is BizBunk. I think that that's something that a lot of people may have expected going into this weekend. Out of the remainder there, again, to kind of double tap on what you were saying earlier, 2 of those being green aggro, a deck that we weren't expecting until, a couple of weeks ago, is pretty incredible. Then we've got yellow Yum Yum, which, is, again, another strong deck. That's a modified version of the yellow starter deck that really focuses on that board wipe, which is awesome. That's really what our top 8 looks like. Now, look at that top 9 or 9th finisher there. That's a green Mega Caffeine. That's a deck that people had been talking about for weeks. They thought we were going to be, leading in the standings. Spencer, could you tell us a little bit about that deck and why it may not be in the top 8?
Well, and again, we should say, at this point, this is not the final top 8. We still have one more round.
Sure.
And so we're probably going to hop in there just a second. But, maybe we'll take a look at some of these decks and we can talk about it then. Caffeine, a dominant deck for a period of time on the ladder, but we talked about how popular What a Twist is this weekend. A very strong card against that strategy. Shall we jump into the next match?
Let's do it. So let's jump in with Tom. Tom from To The Moon Cards is running a deck. He is running BizBunk, and he has been killing it all weekend. This deck has Bunkus, it's got all of the clear components, and it's got some serious saucy actions. Spencer, could you tell us about Tom's build of this deck?
Yes, so Tom, longtime BizBunk player. He's one of the players on the ladder that played it since the game came out. A lot of different iterations this deck has gone through. We see only 2 What's, talking about the number of that card in the deck as well. Have a philosophical debate here is probably the spiciest card. You don't see that in a lot of lists these days, rocking 4 of them. We also see 4 Bashful Swordsman. That's a card that sometimes has only 2. But again, this is BizBunk and a lot of saucies. We're up to 8 saucies total. 2 Not Around Anymore, 4 What a Twist, 2 Got 'em. This is really respecting that caffeine matchup, which we said, we haven't seen as much as possible. But if you're an online player, I think it was reasonable to expect a lot more caffeine than we saw today. And so coming into it, that being said, Tom, when it comes to the reps, he's got them in. Also a Whatnot streamer who likes to rip a lot of vibes. Shout out to the Moon Cards and Collectibles. If you're looking to join the Whatnot community for vibes, that's a great place to start. So really awesome to see one of our vendors, also players, up here in the top of the list. Now let's see who he's playing against.
No doubt about it. And on the other side, we have David running Green Mega Caffeine. We were just talking about this deck, weren't we?
Good thing they've got this. What a twist.
So for those of you who haven't seen it yet tonight, Green Mega Caffeine is based on 2 cards. It's based on the Green Mega Penguin, which is the only penguin in the game that cannot be chosen by anything. And it runs a card called Too Much Caffeine. Too Much Caffeine says at the start of action time, each player may choose a penguin and flop it. Now, here's the question. What happens if your penguin tries to get flopped? It's your only penguin, and it's Green Mega Penguin. Well, it looks like your opponent just can't flop anything you've got. Green Mega Penguin also gets bigger every turn. Spencer, could you tell us a little bit about how this deck supports Green Mega Penguin?
Yes, so what's really important here, again, is what I want to point out, we've got penguins of basically every color here. Why? Because there's no actions in this deck that cost Pudge. This is a deck that just plays various penguins and the good ones. I think one of the interesting ones here is going to be Introvert Penguin, right? Now, this is in this deck because it's a low drop that does not get Popcorn Penguin itself. And so this deck is especially resilient to Popcorn Penguin. An interesting one here is Supportive Friend. You don't see that card a lot, but it's almost strictly better than the Walking Penguin cycle because you're not using Pudge anyway. So Penguin of the Falling Leaves is just worse than Supportive Friend here because Supportive Friend has the optionality to put 2 of its vibe on another penguin.
Sure.
Talk about the non-Pudge producing penguins being a liability in the prior match with the starter deck. Here it's going to be actually an advantage. We see Sliding Penguin being an all-star. Misplaced, really respecting the BizBunk matchup. Hungry Penguins, again, coming in nowhere. And I think we're just going to jump right into this match.
Let's do it. Okay, we're going to jump in here.
And David Frischer, by the way, 18-year-old Magic Pro. Pretty crazy that he is picking up this game and as deep as he is. And this is, again, we talk about storylines this weekend. Magic Pros versus Vibes native players. Tom Gervasio, this is the first TCG that he's ever played, he said. And he picked it up and he dove deep. And so it's exciting to get to see him at the top tables, regardless of the outcome of this match. If you're Tom, you've got to be excited. You've got to be happy about making it this deep. Let's jump in the match. And
looks like David's starting us off pretty strong. He's got a drop on turn 2. He's put down some cards that are pretty interesting. He has a Hungry Penguin in hand and a Hungry Penguin Rod. That'll be sticking there for the rest of the game. But it looks like that might be a pretty good answer here with the Bunkus. Spencer, if you were in David's shoes, you're playing against a BizBunk. BizBunk doesn't know you're playing. What are you going to be trying to use from your tech cards that might be useful against a Bunkus player here?
Yeah, so I think what's really important in this matchup is just constricting resources for the BizBunk player. Now, I got to say, Tom's build seems pretty relevant against it. One of the things that we're going to see is going to be Gotham's and Ascending Penguin. That's going to be a really, really relevant interaction. But Tom has inspiring stories, and so that's a really good way to get out of Gotham range for Tom Gervasio in this matchup against David Frischer.
Sounds good. Looks like David is determining what he's going to do next here. He's got 3 rods in play, and we know that he's kind of going for this line here with that Green Mega Penguin. In a deck like this, you want to get it out as early as you possibly can, get it to grow as many turns as you possibly can to just try to win. Now, that would be under a normal scenario. However, Tom here, he doesn't care about a penguin that starts at 6 vibe and then grows 1 per turn. Tom is looking at 5s that are going to get, easily into the double digits by turn 5. So, if you're David here, you've got bunkuses coming in and you want to check them. Are you just racing here? Is that how you would play this as David if you were going to have David's deck? If you were in his shoes, I know that's maybe a big ask.
I think one of the questions here is how relevant is the combo, right? Now we've seen BizBunk kind of go off before. We saw Suarez win with Bismo PhD candidate, but as we've talked about, BizBunk can also just play can play Bunkus into play, and that's a pretty relevant outcome in a lot of situations, right? Where David may not know is these What a Twist, right? We've seen that not every list runs for What a Twist for BizBunk. Many do, but not all of them. And so he may think that his caffeines are more useful than they will end up being in this matchup.
One thing that viewers should know right now is Tom does not have the Ascending Penguin. Tom has a lot of cards that go really well with it. We just got a little peek at his hand there. He's got 2 Bashfuls. He's got 2 Penguins that break the 4th wall. All of those are big vibes. He's missing the piece. So if you're in David, or in David's position, you might be in a better position than David may know he's in. That's something that users should really know.
Yeah. Now, that being said, this game is just getting underway. Not a lot's going on from either side. I mean, totally. We're 5 rods in, having only played a single 2-drop. This is a funky game, especially...
Well, 5 rods in on one side. The other person's a whole
there's
lot
the Green
in.
Mega. So this is a card that Tom's got to answer. And I've seen Tom play this deck before with Green Mega in the deck. I don't believe there's one today, but it's not uncommon for him to play it.
So, like you were saying before, Tom had 2 lines.
The BizBunk deck.
He had Get Bunkus Big, he had Get Bismo going. And he had, he's missing one half of the engine, or he was, maybe, now he's got the draw.
Speaking of Ascending
Penguin, now maybe he can start it off.
So this is the question, is will this get answered? This is a must-answer threat in many circumstances. Let's take a look at what the green aggro list that we can have here is going to be. I'm taking a look. There are Gotems.
Okay. That's good to have.
Let's see if he's got one.
So Gotham here would stop Tom's engine, which would be really great. And we've got too much caffeine, which stops the other line, which is just having a big bunkus. So David here has ways to kind of tamp down on both of these things. Tom was just a little slow on getting things moving, unfortunately. You draw the cards you draw, and, either way.
The slower Tom is, the more cards he's going to draw here, right?
It's true.
And...
Oh, okay. He's going to play...
Oh, and so Penguin Breaks the 4th Wall was a rod. It's now been iced using an Overwhelm with Knowledge. The Overwhelm with Knowledge is going to trigger the...
Okay,
that's
that's more Penguins in the ice.
And Penguins that can be played from the ice. It can come back out. It is a 9-vibe Penguin.
Absolutely.
Green Mega Penguin is very strong, but...
Now, if you're in Tom's position, you're also weighing 2 things here that I think some people who have played BizBunk, this is just going to feel like second nature, but is not immediately obvious. When you play your Bunkus, or you want to play multiple Bunkai during the course of the game, if you have rods, those rods can be used multiple times on your Bunkuses. If you spend cards from your ice as part of that cost, remember, you can only spend them once. As they end up getting replaced with Ascending Penguin if you can, make the engine really move, if you have the flywheel. But otherwise, you have to make this decision. How many rods do I need? How many rods can I get rid of? Now, look, Tom can get that Penguin who breaks the 4th wall out. He'll lose 2 rods, and he is certainly a few rods behind his opponent here.
Well, and we talked about this earlier, where the inspiring story putting the Ascending Penguin out of range of a Gotham was very relevant, but running it out, very aggressive line. Now, Misplaced Forgetter of Things coming down. We talked about this being the strongest single card, I think, in the BizBunk matchup against it. Choosing Bunkus. Bunkus can no longer be played at all as long as that card's in play. This is a problem for Tom, unfortunately.
So what Misplaced Forgetter of Things does, for players that are not too aware, is when it enters the huddle, the player that played it gets to name a card that's in their opponent's ice. That card cannot be played as long as Misplace is around, which makes Bunkus unplayable here. Now, players have also used it to play against Bismo, and when you're already too late, when you think, oh man, they're just going to keep getting things going. But in this case, while we don't have access to what David said here, we can imagine that he said Bunkus. Okay, looks like Tom is deciding how he's going to proceed.
There's a lot of lines here. We talked about BizBunk being a complicated deck to play. I mean, one of the reasons why I think Caffeine actually may have been a good choice this weekend, despite seeing less play than we expected, was it's pretty linear. You play cards on curve and you do stuff. BizBunk is basically the opposite of that. If you wanted to think a lot and have a lot of decisions that you had to make pretty quickly that matter a lot, then this is the thing you played. Oh, a Bashful Swordsman coming down with 14 vibe with an Ascending Penguin in play. That is hyper relevant here. That's going to put a lot more cards in the ice. Now, really what Tom needs is going to be...
Ooh, that is a serious amount of fuel. I mean, Tom has got a lot of cards in ice. Now, remember, he doesn't have as many rods as one might expect. He's got 4 rods in play. He opted not to ice anymore in order to play Penguin Who Breaks the Fourth Wall. But that means that out of Bunkus's 12 cost, 8 of them are going to be cards from the ice. So if Tom wants to get it moving, he can. He's got to wonder, though, if David stops me in my tracks, gets rid of my Bunkus, will I have enough fuel to play him again? So that's something that Tom is weighing.
You know, this is the pickle that you're in. The BizBunk deck, a lot less strong when you can't play Bunkus itself. I mean, there's a reason it's called BizBunk.
So he certainly has to deal with that first.
And, you know, a very heads-up play here from David Frischer naming the Bunkus and not, you know, for example, naming the Bizmo or any other card. It may have even been tempting to name the Penguin Who Breaks the Fourth Wall as well.
Certainly.
Well, we got to look at this list. Have a philosophical debate, I think, is the only card that answers. I'm not remembering, and I'm looking here. I don't believe there is an Adventure Squad. Now, you see, the reason that some players may not want to play Adventure Squad is that if you ice the Penguin who you've chosen on your own side of response, it can be a 2-for-1.
Absolutely. But a card that takes its place here, have a philosophical debate, that's a card that relies on you kind of getting things moving. It says, when you play this, you choose a Penguin, you may move any number of cards from your ice to the bottom of your deck, so you take a little bit of your fuel away, and if the Penguin you want to get rid of's fish cost is less than that, then you're able to ice that Penguin. So that's kind of the substitute card that we're going to be seeing in Tom's deck here.
Now, something Tom could have done here, but opted not to, was to flop his own Bashful Swordsman so that it didn't ice itself, because Bashful Swordsman's ability only triggers if it's unflopped. And this is why Bashful Swordsman is really generally very good in the mirror. I think that we will see what the decision here was, but that might end up being a critical play in this matchup, because one of the answers to Green Mega Penguin is actually just Bashful Swordsman being big enough.
Totally. Having a big Penguin answers a whole lot of things in this game.
That being said, you know, even if Tom had to have a philosophical debate, no purple pudge. 2 blue Penguins unflopped right now. That's the challenge of playing these blue Penguins in a purple action
Looks like Tom has just won the vibe check. He's iced his Bashful Swordsman. Had to. Didn't really have the choice there. And now we'll start his turn with 7 on board.
Yes, exactly. Well, the choice came with the caffeine. And you got to think that it probably was more relevant to flop the Swordsman than the misplaced. But we'll see where things go. You know, playing for top 8 under the lights, in the feature match area, not an easy position to be in, especially for someone who is playing at this level kind of for the first time. David Frischer, we know, is an experienced Magic pro.
Absolutely.
This is not his first time in a feature match area for sure. But Tom Gervasio, this will not be his last time. He's coming back with the fury, I know, every time. Now let's see how this game progresses. But either way, really, truly an incredible run. I mean, we had 130 players this weekend, and we talk about where a lot of these players came from. There was a major Magic tournament on Saturday that people qualified to. Now they have, so the answer card is in Tom's hand. We talked about some other cards. There is, how to get to 2 purple pudge. That is the question if you are Tom Gervasio. One of the opportunities to do it could be to play 2 Penguin Who Breaks the Fourth Wall.
If
One
you do
is going
it,
as a
you
rod,
ice a huge amount of your
but
rods.
you're icing so many of your rods.
Absolutely.
That's the struggle here.
Now,
isn't it?
remember, to play these Penguins Who Break the Fourth Wall, you can use them, you break rods, you get more Penguins Who Break the Fourth Wall. Tom is in a very tough position here. He opted to win the vibe check. You have to wonder why. If he wins that vibe check, it gets him an extra rod. He certainly must have been feeling, I don't have enough rods in play here, either for the engine or it's just a resource to spend on other things.
Another
and that resource
swordsman.
Could be,
this is a lot more cards going in the ice.
Holy
what is Tom
cow.
digging for? The other question here, too, ironically, Bizmo in hand as a 2-drop that makes purple pudge is one of the best cards he could have drawn throughout this matchup.
That is a really, really interesting play, or interesting thing to mention. I think you're totally right. If he wants an answer...
And how deep is Tom in his deck? Can he Bizmo without bunkusing? Is that a line that's available to him here?
No way.
Because he's got another purple Mega Penguin in his hand as well, so he could recur one of the Bashful Swordsmen. Was he getting the Bashful Swordsman in the ice to bring it back to his hand to play it again, to mill another 7?
Oh my.
To try a natural get with that? Oh my goodness.
Holy cow.
If he can pull this off, this might be the craziest game that we've seen this weekend.
And
I mean,
you know what? It's not that crazy.
It's not that crazy.
Tom won 2 vibe checks, or at least one. He has enough here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rods. He could throw down.
He has the 2 Penguin Mike brings the fourth wall in the.
And he has another one in the rods.
In the rod zone.
He could hit 3 in a row, which is 15 cards from deck.
The question is, does he have the Bismo in hand?
There it is.
Oh, but he doesn't need it because he has the purple Mega Penguin, so he could get the Bismo from the ice.
Oh, but if he does that, that cops out the rods, because that's 6 rods to do it. So,
well, but how many turns do you have here? Let's count. There's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 cards in play for David Fischer.
Okay.
It could be a fast clock, but it could not be. Let's see how this plays out.
Right. That's a great question.
11,
we don't know how much
pros
David's
from other
got
games
here.
come to our game, but I've been saying this all weekend. I am rooting for our Vibes native players the whole weekend. I want to see them do it. So I'm rooting for Tom here to find this line and get it. You know,
I'm
there's
Switzerland.
a reason
In the booth, I'm not letting myself root for anyone. But you know, to each their own. Tom, I gotta say though, and Tom has my heart. I mean, he's just an unbelievable player. Tom, when he started getting into Vibes, and some of you guys who have seen him play may not believe this. Tom, when he was playing, his win rate was below 50% on the online game. Now he is known as just an unbelievable player.
A juggernaut, top forward the 1K before this at Top Deck Games. Absolutely a force to be reckoned with, in contention for top 8 here. Whether he makes it or not, this is a great run.
Absolutely.
And he's going to cash for sure this 20K this weekend. So I'm rooting for it, but let's see how things go. An inspiring story comes down. I don't think that's going to be very relevant to what happens here.
Well, sure. I mean, something that we should note here is that you're right. The inspiring story is certainly not one of the more interesting plays so far, but it is going to increase that green Mega Penguin just a little bit. Now, in this whole world that we're talking about Tom and him possibly having this line out, we're assuming that he's got this path to victory through his deck, where he pulls it all out, goes into his ice, and he makes his way out. But Tom here also has another line that he is going to have to start giving up if he wants to kind of push down that path. And with that inspiring story, he's starting to lose that path, which is to kind of just go for hitting 15 on board, winning with the Bashful Swordsman. Ooh, and on that note, it's getting flopped down by too much caffeine anyway. He would actually need to have 2 of them in play to even make it. Yeah, it looks like winning through getting 15 on board and highest vibe is looking more and more difficult from Tom.
I mean, I don't think that's Tom's line here. It can't be.
I think you're probably right here. I gotta say, through that deck, that is certainly a more attractive path, and not just because it's more interesting and we want to see it here in the booth.
Well, and you got to think too. At some point, this green Mega is going to become big enough where oh well, this is a line too. If Tom can get another purple pudge in play, is it 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So he's not at risk of losing here. If he can get another purple pudge in play and remove that misplaced, that line is still live. There's no answers to that. We know that
That's true.
David Frischer is not playing with any cancel actions because he has no actions at all that cost put, right?
That's certainly true. From
there
our
is
side,
no
we know
answer
it.
from David that could possibly be there. So we're 1 purple pudge away, and this was much less of a line when David's caffeine was flopping the Ascending Penguin. But now that David's caffeine is flopping the Bashful Swordsman, it leaves this line open.
Absolutely. One other thing to know about Tom is that he is an especially conservative player. He will seriously consider what other players have and will spend a lot of time predicting what actions they might have.
You can see the wheels turning.
I mean, you can totally see it on his face.
We're locked in. He's locked in.
2 rounds ago, I was watching him play against another player in a previous round. It was a Bizbunk mirror against another high-level player, actually a player that learned the game 2 days ago and is now one of the top players in the charts. And in that matchup, Tom was sat and thought for about 2.5 minutes on his final play. Ultimately, his opponent had nothing that they could do, and just sat thinking about every possible card that the opponent could have. Look, Tom is someone who will seriously consider all defensive options, and I think that that's going to make this really interesting going into the end of the game here.
And we see David taking a look through Tom's ice, trying to glean any information he can.
Right. David's really
the question is, how well does David know the game? Is he a skilled player? Might be able to guess. There's few enough cards left in Tom's deck that a skilled player from Vibes might be able to guess what those cards were.
Totally.
David kind of calculating the options. I think he's probably looking at what are the things that can be played from the ice. I mean, this is a complicated board state. Talk about known information to David.
Absolutely.
I mean, we've got to be 30, 40 cards in the ice right now.
And one thing, for you viewers, what you're seeing in Tom's ice, that's half of his ice. He just has the Penguins there. The actions are all over the side of the mat here. Tom, we don't know how many cards he has left in deck, but it's certainly not many. I would guess, somewhere in the ballpark of 12 to 15.
Fantastic. Well, I can't wait. I'm on the edge of my seat. I mean, if you're going to play for top 8, this is the kind of game that you want to play for top 8 with. Win or lose for both players. This is quite the match. I mean, and this is the match of the weekend, really, is green. We were talking about it, not as much caffeine as you might think, but really green versus BizBunk is the match of the weekend. One of these players will make it into top 8 most likely after winning this. It's not a lock for sure, I believe.
But a 7-2 win at this
X's,
point,
2s. Yeah.
We'll go through the standings as soon as we have access to them after this game.
It's highly likely.
It is certainly highly likely. These have been two players that have just played unbelievably well this weekend. It's been really incredible. Tom actually really playing well, throughout the past few competitive Vibes events. Tom has really been climbing the charts, which has been amazing. And on top of, his repeated wins on the online game. Okay, looks like Tom is
counting how many cards are left in his deck. We
figuring
talked
out
about this being part of this line.
Okay, that was hard to copy, but I think I gleaned 10. Let's
10.
see.
Well, that's certainly.
Let's assume that
again
as the count for now. Now, remember, we did a little math earlier. Oh, some stuff's flopped. Let's talk about that.
Well, so the Misplace and the Bashful Swordsman were flopped by the caffeine.
Right, okay.
Tom flopped the Ascending Penguin because now he has access to Pudge
in
order to play the Study All Night, which drew him 2 cards and then ice 2 cards.
Oh,
and
okay.
Here's the Gotham.
That's
an interesting moment. Well, so what Gotham does...
Oh!
Oh, my goodness. Talk about saucy actions.
Man.
In response to Gotham, Tom, not a rods anymore, protecting the Ascending Penguin from the Gotham.
It's out of range.
But what's extra important here is that this is one less card for David Frischer. This might take an extra turn for him to win the game because he has to win the game through the vibe check.
You're right. He's down a rod.
Why has he waited so long to do that?
Looks like we're probably going to get a judge call here on that interaction.
Just making sure this all works the way that it should.
As
this
you should.
You should
always have it.
It's different from Magic.
You should totally have a judge call whenever you can.
If a condition is not met in terms of the card being played, so yes, this is going to boost. Now, the card falls off. It is not true that it must be a condition met at the time of being played. It is true that it must be a condition met. This is a heads up from David Frischer. I think this is the right call. If you're not as familiar with Vibes and you're unsure about something, always call a judge. The judges this weekend, provided by Star City Games, have been absolutely fantastic, helping facilitate everything that's happening.
Absolutely.
And there we go. That was a very relevant call. That Ascending Penguin being in play is going to matter a lot, I would say.
Absolutely. So Tom having that Ascending Penguin means that he can continue with that line that Spencer identified earlier. It's really going to be critical here. Now, looking at the deck, it actually looks like there might be fewer cards than Spencer and I even counted.
Oh my goodness. It looks like is there 4 cards left?
I think there might be 4.
The question is there a Bismo in hand? Because Tom would need 6 Pudge in order to get...
He's shaking his head. It's as if he's hearing us speak. If he doesn't have that Bismo,
because it's too late. Because the problem is the Ascending Penguin is not a May ability.
It's a must.
It's a must. And so if Tom plays the purple Mega Penguin here, that would remove the rest of his deck. So he may have actually wanted that Gotham to resolve if he doesn't have the the Bismo PhD candidate in hand.
Well, let's talk through a line. I want to hear your thoughts on something that's been running through my mind here. Oh, Tom's shaking his head, looking down. That's not too good. But let's imagine Tom does not have the Bismo here. He's got that purple Mega Penguin in hand. We know that for a fact. Oh, he's still shaking his head. Uh-oh. Okay, well, let's talk this through. He draws for his turn, and he plays a Rod. He plays purple Mega Penguin, which triggers Ascending Penguin. Now, remember, if he's looking for that Bismo, I think that's his way, or he does it. So, plays that Ascending Penguin. That removes cards from the top of his deck. He doesn't lose the game, though, right?
Well, not immediately. So, what would have to happen there is that what that purple Mega Penguin would allow him to do, no, because he's going to have to take his next turn. There's no way for him to get cards back on the bottom of his deck during the vibe check. So when he goes to draw for turn, or if he loses the vibe check, for example, because of this green Mega Penguin,
this is a great point.
It's
You're
not
right.
going to work. So he's got to win on his turn here, or Another line is pass the turn. There's a chance, we don't know because the cards are off screen, but there's a chance that there is a Bismo PhD candidate in his deck currently.
There totally is.
One of those 4 cards might be
He
it.
could
And
draw it.
We've talked about how there's 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Oh my goodness, David Frischer at 15 cards in play. This is going to be the turn that decides
this is it. Okay. And Tom hasn't taken his turn yet, but you're right. He's got 1 draw. If there's a Bismo in there, that's 1 in 4.
What's this top card going to be?
So I'm seeing 2 Bismos in ice. Oh, do you happen to have that deck list handy? If
I
we
have
could
the
just
deck list
remember
handy.
what he's got.
It's got to be Bismo or bust here, unless...
And he
doesn't
doesn't have it.
Oh.
Oh, that hurts so bad to see. Now, he could stall a
They're
turn.
out.
Could he stall a turn through have a philosophical debate, putting cards from his ice on the bottom of his deck, putting the Bismos back in the deck?
He does have the ability to do that, but only... Oh, and his opponent must flop the blue swordsman, so there is a line here. There's a line, folks.
There's a line.
But is Tom going to find the line?
Right. You're right. His opponent
This
has
is
to
the
find...
9th round. We've been playing since 9 a.m.
You're right.
It's
If they
Tom's
don't-
first time on camera.
Holy
Whether
cow.
he finds the line or not, it's available to him. But I know I'm proud of him, and I know he'll be back with a vengeance. He's
Absolutely,
gonna watch
no
this
matter
video.
what happens.
I'm gonna get a text from him tomorrow.
So that people in the audience know here, we're talking that David is forced to flop Bashful Swordsman, we think, because otherwise he just can't win this vibe check. Probably. Now, maybe not necessarily, though. He's got 2 sliding penguins, so
4
9,
plus
10.
9 plus 10, 14. He can tie the vibe check. He does have 15 in play,
So-
he actually doesn't need to flop.
Right.
Oh
So if
no!
David,
oh.
we have to understand if David's where we have to guess.
No, we
right?
do. No, but have a philosophical debate is a removal action.
Sure. Okay. You're right. But if he needs the Pudge production to do it. So Tom is going to have 2 unflopped purple penguins to make this
This
work.
is an interesting line.
Oh, whoa.
1.
Where does that come from?
Interesting.
What?
Popcorn Penguin
Why?
is going to be forced to Popcorn Penguin.
Itself.
No, his own Ascending Penguin. It's a way to remove his own Ascending Penguin. The question is, can he get another purple Pudge in play?
Okay, so he is now moving into action time.
I think if he
have
moves
a
to action
feeling.
time here, I'm not sure.
Oh, that would be... I mean, jeez, does he not have any other way to create purple Pudge here?
Not in play currently.
I just wish I remembered what was in his hand.
It's have a philosophical debate.
For sure.
The only purple Pudge in his hand comes from the purple Mega Penguin. And
But
so
he could ice... Oh, shoot. And he can't use his penguins from the ice, the penguins that break the 4th wall, because if he plays them, he mills himself.
Oh,
with
no,
the
he
Ascending
can't. That
Penguin.
is a line that he could have used. Because he's able to mill himself because the have philosophical debate puts cards on the bottom of his ice.
Oh, you're right. If he had played last turn, if he had played the penguin who breaks the 4th wall,
The penguin
he
who breaks
loses 2 rods, he mills himself out completely, but then he can have a philosophical debate during action time.
Putting the Bismo PhD candidates back. And
I'm back at the bottom of the deck. Oh, man. Oh, jeez. He totally had the line. Well, I mean, look, ultimately these are both great players, and it's not out for Tom yet. He's played this popcorn. I'm having a hard time seeing how he wins it through this, but look, 2 seconds ago, we didn't even know that was an option to even continue progressing from Tom's stance. But, man, I mean, David Frischer is also just playing, he's just playing great. I mean, and that deck is really a wonderful combination. I know it's kind of green mega at its base, but it's adaptable. Those sliding penguins allow for some real powerful punching up action on that vibe check. I think that David Frischer's deck is going to be something that's going to be discussed a lot in the community going forward. Okay, looks like
Is there a
this
line
is
here?
the moment that really matters, and people are probably going to be thinking about this and talking about this for a minute after this game. Oh, Tom is not looking so confident. He already had his head in his hands for a moment prior.
is there a way out? I've got to believe there might be.
Okay. Oh, looks like Tom is considering a judge call here. Let's see. Regarding too much caffeine. David did opt to flop Bashful Swordsman. Okay.
Which means that Tom has access to 1 purple Pudge, but it's not 2 purple Pudge.
Right.
But Tom has what a twist. Does that change the math here?
Tom is what a twist.
Is there a twist we're not thinking about? Oh, my goodness.
Shoot. Well, in this game, something that people need to know, you can't float Pudge. Oh, and he ices the Ascending Penguin. Oh,
With the
man,
Popcorn
I
Penguin.
think that he's cutting his losses. I mean, look, now he's got no Purple Pudge. He's lost the ability to have a philosophical debate. I think he may have thrown away the keys to the castle. Okay, Tom's looking at what he's got now. Now I think that this is pretty solidly in David's hands. Look, we've been talking a lot about Tom this game.
But what a twist. We said it was coming. Oh, because you know what else Tom has? Tom has the red saucy as well. Tom has not a Rodney Moore. So what a twist. And then Rodney Moore to have the higher vibing penguin. You know what Bashful Swordsman does? Bashful Swordsman can make it happen here. Because if I believe I'm reading the dice correctly, it is a 4 on the green Mega Penguin that brings it to 10, or is it 6 on the green Mega Penguin, bringing it to 12, plus the Inspiring Story, bringing it to 14, which would tie with the blue Swordsman.
Sure, but I mean, he's thrown away he's going to win the battle, or at least tie the battle and lose the war. I mean, he had a chance to win the game next turn, and now it's just about surviving the next 5 check. He's going to... He has some resources to last a little longer if he's got that red saucy, but at this point, I think things are looking a little bit more dire. Okay, looks like that What a Twist is going to resolve there. He's going to unflop his Bashful Swordsman, which means that he has a chance to win this 5 check if he has that red saucy action. David's searching through the rods. David may have a saucy that we're not aware of here in the booth. That might change the math a little bit. We know we already had got him earlier on in the game.
How does Tom get out of this? I mean, he's got another turn. Is this
Okay,
next card
Tom does
Bismo?
get
Is the
to win the
last
vibe
card in his
check.
deck? If the last card in Tom's deck is Bismo, I am going to...
Then he would. You're right. You're right. He does have the chance.
It could
there.
not come closer than this.
Man, if he had it. Okay, let's see. He draws the final card in his deck, and it is not. It is an action.
The line is still available to him if he can find it here.
Well, the line
Because the Ascending Penguin is off the board.
You're right. Wait. So let's talk through that line.
Oh, no, he has it because he's got the purple mega.
He purple
has
megas?
enough rods. He's gonna
No
ice the popcorn
way.
penguin, get the Bismo
You're
back.
right.
Oh my
He figures
goodness,
it
Tom
out.
Gervasio
I didn't
pulls
see
it
that
out
at
with
all.
no cards in his
No
deck.
way.
Bunk
No
is
cards in his deck.
unplayable the
No
whole round.
way.
Oh
my God. What? That's crazy.
We
no
were
way.
writing Tom's obituary in this tournament,
And he had
he pulled it
outsmarted
out,
us.
upset David Fischer, the 18-year-old Magic Pro Tour wonder kid.
Unbelievable.
Tom Gervasio, Vibes native player,
That is
making
crazy.
it into
That's
what I believe is
crazy.
the top 8 of this tournament.
Oh my God.
With no cards left in his deck. Congratulations to Tom. Congratulations
That's
to the Moon,
unreal.
cards and collectibles. I mean, again, you're Switzerland, but I'm not, and I am happy to see that our Vibes native players are making it to the top of this tournament. And my hope is David Frischer has had a great time as well and is back to battle one more time, at least, in future Vibes events. What an
This was an
absolutely
exceptionally
insane match going down the
good
wire.
game.
15 penguins. He found it out. He made the saucy actions happen. Tom Gervasio has got. I mean, it's to
crazy
the moon,
well played.
But he's
I mean,
got
it
to
was
be
really,
over
really
the
well
moon
played.
right now. I mean, what?
It's
An
unbelievable.
absolute-
And also, this is a warning for us, I think, is that we're sitting here in the booth, we're like,
We
oh
called
man,
it.
these competitors, they must be so tired after all this time. Look, that's what you get when instead of the 2 best 5 players, you have
There's
2
a
people
reason
who
they're in
made
the
the
top 8.
game
We're not.
in
I
the
mean,
booth.
Thank goodness we get to be
yeah,
here.
we
Elliot
get
and
to
I
pretend like we know what's going on. These
undefeated
players,
on the weekend.
Yeah, that's true.
There
We
we
are
go.
undefeated on the week. We have not lost a game.
There
Well,
we go.
I've lost a few
Well,
demo
undefeated
decks
on the
against
day.
the.
We'll say that much. But
when we're teaching people, we do sometimes lose. That does sometimes happen.
well, you've
well,
tuned in here not just to hear us gab. You've turned in here.
let's see some more vibes. Let's get some more games going.
Elliot, that concludes round 9.
Oh, wow.
Which
Holy
means we
cow.
have our top 8 players.
No way. Okay, so now
So-
we're moving into the big leagues. Is this quarterfinals?
So this is going to go to the top 8.
Awesome.
Should we see who else made it?